Hi, I'm JJ. I am from Colombia, Bogota, and I want to make this video because when I was in school and I was looking for information about the O1 and more specifically how to do it without a lawyer, it was very difficult to find information. I want to start saying that if you have the opportunity to work with a lawyer, please work with a lawyer. It's something you really want to invest the money on in. It's your future, so it's really important that if you can invest in a lawyer, then go ahead and do it. My case, I didn't have the money to invest and to pay a lawyer, so like invest in my future by paying the lawyer. So that's why I'm creating this video. So recap, I studied musical theater in New York. When we had the first meeting with the international team from the school, I was a little bit devastated. It was a lot of information. I was scared. I was like, what did I get into? I'm not going to be able to get those visas that they're talking about. So they talk about like the work permit, the OPT, which was good, easy. If you like do your school, then you, depending on the school that you go to and the amount of hours, you're able to get it or not. And then we have the monster, the O1. And of course, after the O1, like you can renew or change to a different visa, such as the EB1A visa. But we're talking about the O1. So they started talking about lawyers, and then I started looking for the lawyer's fee. And in 2021, well, that was when I started school, it was 2018. I was applying for my visa around 2022. So back in those years, a couple of years ago, I would say that it was around 4,000 to 6,000, and I didn't have the money. I couldn't pay for a lawyer. I didn't have the money for it. So I had to look for options. And I'm going to say, if you have the money or if you're able to get someone to help you get a lawyer, it's amazing. Please have the lawyer help you, have the lawyer be there for you. But if you don't have the money and you're trying to make it and navigate the O1 by yourself, then stay tuned, continue watching the video. So the first thing I did was to just go to workshops, look for lawyers, see what was the O1 about, and try to find different alternatives. And I realized that most lawyers, they do workshops or they have like a 15-minute call for free. So at the beginning, try to just get as much information as you can from lawyers. So there was like a workshop that I was able to go, that it was an hour. Everyone was international. Everyone wanted to work with this like lawyer. It was like a very well-known lawyer that it had like a 99% yes approval guaranteed by the O1 people, that like, USCIS. So I started like compiling as much information as I could and understanding what they were talking about as much as I could. And I remembered that for this lawyer, I call him in one of those 15-minute like free consultations to see if they can take you as a client or not. And we talk about like my career in the performing arts, the things I've done. And the lawyer was like, I'm sorry, I can take your case. I don't think it's going to get approved. I'm not going to take you as a client. And like that was more of like a fuel for me to be like, okay, let's just continue trying and navigating this by myself to see if I'm able to do it alone. Because something that lawyers, and I don't want to sound mean to lawyers, that they don't tell you is that you can do this by yourself. You just have to read, understand what it's about, and work on the specifics that they're asking for. So sometimes you just feel very disappointed, sad, upset, because you're like, how am I going to do this? So getting back on track of the O1, I was like, okay, let's just do it. I started reading what my case would look like. I couldn't find like an official case online, something that said like, here's a draft of what it looks like. And so I started navigating what they were, like the USCIS webpage said, and I found out that I needed to have it written down here. A cover letter, which I learned from the lawyers that it was the most important part because it's like a summary of your O1. It's like the first 5 minutes that you have the person who is judging your application reading and trying to understand who you are, what you're bringing to the country, what you will doing for those 1, 2, 3 years, etc. Then it's the form I-129, which I'm going to say it's very tedious, but I'm going to tell you what I suggest. I suggest that you print it, and there's a manual too from USCIS that you can download, and just in your like spare time, start doing it with a pencil and start reading the manual. Start writing your name, last name. If you see a point where you're like, what does that mean? Highlight it and then go to ChatGPT now that that exists, or different sources, and start saying like, I am filing for my I-129. I am in point 4A. What does this mean? And then it will tell you like, this is your address for your home country, or this is the address of where you're planning to live in the States, or this is where you put the code of the work that you want to do, etc. Those were examples, whatever. Then you need to have your agreements, which this is what I did for my year. Each year could change, so please make sure that you stay like understanding what they're asking for each year in case it changed. But you need contracts or letters of I forgot. Sorry. What's it called? Letters of intent. So I started navigating all of my networking. I started seeing and finding out which of my friends maybe had a company, who I knew that was working for a theater company, who could help me craft these contracts that could also be letters of intent, which means that it's a promise that we want to work on something like a contract, but there's a clause that says that at any certain point, both parties can end the relationship and be okay. So, because it's really hard, especially when you're a performer in the performing arts world, to have like 6 months knowing and understanding what you're going to do with your life. So, think of 3 years, that's complicated. So those letters of intent are good because it says like, I'm trying to do this for the 3 years, but if something goes wrong, or if I get a better show, or if I need to go on tour, etc., I'm also able to cancel this contract because there's a clause that says that both of us can cancel it at any point. That's also very beneficial for you when you're asking for those contracts, or applying for them, auditioning for them, because it gives the other person the benefit of saying to like, if I don't want to work with them, then I can just cancel it. And then of course, if you can have a lawyer, please, I recommend, because that part, it's very law oriented and it's best to have a lawyer. And then after that, it was the filing fee. Then you need the advisory opinion. My recommendation is, if you are new to the arts, don't go to the union and say, give me advisory opinion, because like the equity union, because they are working with Broadway artists, and like they're top notch, so they might not give you the best one. My friend, she recommended me one called Fracture Atlas. I don't know if if they're still working or not. I think so. I'm going to put the link if I can find it, and if they're still working, so that you can check them out. But it was great. I totally recommend working with them. Then you have your letters of attestation, letter of recommendation, and this is what I did, which I recommend to you, based on me getting the approval of the O1. And it is, get the letter of recommendation, and then the first page, put a picture of the person and a little bio of who they are. So let's say Frank, and then you put Frank, picture of Frank, and then next to the picture of Frank is the artistic director of this company that is well renowned in, let's say, New York, because of all of their musical theater work that they have done in the past and that they're currently doing, and they currently work with actors and actresses such as blah blah blah. And then you put your letter of attestation or a letter of recommendation. And you can have those from people in the States. That would be easier, so that the person who's reviewing your application kind of like is more aware of these people, or etc. But if you can have people from other places, that would be great. I myself know people in the United States, but I also have some like friends in Colombia that were able to like testify for my job because we work together. I love traveling, so I was able to contact people from other different places, which gave me more of like an international sense of artist, because they were reading letters of attestation from people in Colombia, say Mexico, France, and then New York, United States. And then after that, I put it a part that's like my CV and extra evidence, in which I just put all of the pictures of my work, and if there's a picture of the whole cast, I would circle. I'm gonna like put in the video some pictures while you so that you can see. Sorry. And something very important is that you probably have worked in a theater where other people who are currently on Broadway or who are very famous used to work at. So, in my case, for example, I worked as a dancer in Kings Island for a Christmas show called Christmas Spectacular Charlie Brown. I don't recall the exact name, something like that. But on that specific theater, which is in a theme park, it was the first theater job where the choreographer of Hamilton started working, or like, putting his feet on the ground with theater, started to work, started to like be in the field. So I put that, of course, in my own one too, because it's saying that I myself am working for venues in which this person who they probably know, maybe because it's musical theater, I don't think they know, but it gives us like more of a highlight. They were working too. So always try to find as much information as you can of who has performed in venues where you have performed, what type of shows have you done, where has the show been produced, who was the producer. For example, I also did a show in Colombia called Afterglow, and Afterglow has been in New York, in the UK, in Miami, and I was producing the show, and they gave me the option to buy the social media kit, and those are like basically pictures of the other productions, interviews they had in the past, newspapers, and I did it for our advertisement of the show, but it worked a lot for my O1 visa because it was showing the link of me performing in this show that has great acknowledged, let's say like reviews, or that has been announced in newspaper, in different channels, through like big medias in London, in the United States, in different countries, etc., etc. So don't think of I performed here and I did the show and that's it. No, start looking who else has performed here, where has the show been done, what does it mean to be in the show, because that will help your case get stronger and stronger and stronger. Um, my when I sent the application, it took them like 2 months for me actually to say like I'm going to call them because I haven't gotten a received number, and I had to call, and then they were like, okay, no, you have to send an email and wait another month, which I did. It was 3 months, and I was very like, I did it by myself. I don't know if I did something wrong. That's why it's important also, if you can, to have a lawyer, to like have a lawyer, because you feel more comfortable and you're like, if it gets denied, it's because I didn't fulfill the requirements instead of I didn't know how to do it and I probably did something wrong and it got denied. So I was like, I don't know if I did something wrong and they didn't like actually accept the application or something happened, until after like 3 months I finally called and they were able to tell me, okay, let me look into your case. Then they finally gave me the receipt number, and then after like another 2 months, it took like 5 months, I believe, I finally got the approval. My sponsor called me and he said, hey, we have your approval, let's continue. And then I had to make my appointment for the embassy in Colombia, go present myself. But if you're interested in that part, just we can talk more in another opportunity about it. Now, something that I haven't talked about, which is very important and very difficult, the sponsor part. This is why human connections are very important, and legit human connections. Because if you have someone who's willing to sponsor you for those 3 years and gives you the contract and is there for you, amazing. But if you have created an amazing relationship, which is what happened with me, with an artistic director who is constantly creating work, putting plays, musicals, and has their own company, then you can approach them, be super honest and true, and tell them, hey, this is what us immigrants have to do in order for us to be able to work here and get a good salary, because yeah, we're artists, but we also want to live well. And this is what I need to do. As a sponsor, you mainly will have to do this, that, that, that. and hopefully they say yes and they help you out. In my case, which is something I recommend to you too, is I said, this is what I have to do, this is what the sponsor needs to do for them to do the application for me, because the sponsor is the person who is submitting for you. The sponsor is saying, I want JJ to come work for me because of all of these things. But of course, because it's such a big case, your lawyer is helping you, and yourself, you are putting and setting all of the documents in order so that you make your sponsor's life easier. And I said to the sponsor if he could help me out. He said, yes, but something that I also said is, because you're going the extra mile with becoming my sponsor, how about if I'm able to do some voluntary work for you? So, for example, how about if during next production, instead of working as an actor, I can help you with the costumes as me volunteering, or I can help you with the stage management, or I can help you creating the choreography, and just make sure that you both can talk it out and make sure that you're okay. And that's basically what I did. I offered some like service where I was like, let me just help with the creation of this musical and do it as like volunteering, and then later you can actually become my sponsor, and we can look into the contracts, everything that we have to do together to submit for me. And then we submitted and I got it approved. So to conclude, I'm going to give you my email in case you want to email me. And if you have questions, if you need anything, I just want to help as much as I can to the people that can't afford a lawyer, and make their dreams come true, help them make their dreams come true. That was my case. I will say it again. I wish I had the money to work with a lawyer to make things easier, to feel more guided. I do feel very proud and happy that life said, I'm sorry, you don't have the money, you have to find another way, and put people along the way that were very nice and kind to me. I have to be I'm really thankful for Maya. Maya, she's from Israel. She did the O1 application by herself too, and she got it approved, and she became my mentor. We sat twice, and she explained everything. She showed me what her O1 visa application looked like, kind of like the draft for me to understand the presentation, and she was always there to answer questions. So thank you very much, Maya, and I wish you the best. I always said it, that what's yours, it's meant to be yours, and no one can take it away. So continue putting the effort, showing up, believing in yourself, because if it is meant to be, it's for you, it's yours. And if it is not, it's not a failure, it's a landing. It basically means that you're landing in a new situation that's going to open up new doors that are actually meant for you. Sometimes easy to say that, it's really hard to go through if you get it denied. But if you trust in the process, in the future, and in yourself as an artist, then you're good to go, no matter wherever in the world you are. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have questions, let me know, and we'll stay in touch. Bye bye.